Welcome to another episode of the Aristocrats Soccer Podcast. This week, we are joined by Somalian Footballer of the Year, Omar Mohamed. Welcome, Omar, or welcome, Mojo.
Thanks for having me, Keegs. Thanks for having me, Dave, my man.
How you doing, Omar? Nice to meet you.
So Mojo is Omar's nickname, so that's what we're going to be calling him today. Here at Greenville, we think it's because of John Harkes' dog is named Mojo, but there may be some correlation there. We're not quite sure, but we call him Mojo. So first off, it's been a great week for the Triumph. Congratulations on lifting the trophy. Obviously, a weird kind of circumstance to do it in. We discussed our last podcast. We had Dallas and Caesar on, and we kind of went in depth in all the different happenings of the past week. But just from your perspective, can you just share what this season has meant to you? This was your fifth season professionally, and this is the first time you lifted a trophy. So just go into a little bit how you think the season went for you, and how great it was to have that feeling of being a champion.
I mean, obviously, you know how it was, Keegs. This season was probably like the most weirdest, difficult season, from like quarantine training to bringing your own water bottle, just little things like that. So it's been a crazy season for sure. But the fact that we came on top just makes it more special to all of us, I think. And just like starting off from the season, we started off well, and we just kind of kept going up. And we might have had like a little bit ups and downs, but we always like faced our challenges. And I think we did very well to just lift the trophy at the end, even though we didn't have a final. That was kind of most difficult thing about it, but just winning it all, I think we deserve it, just being on top of the table for the whole season. So that's my say about the season for sure. Just happy lifting the trophy for the first time in my career.
What did you attribute to both your personal and the team success this year? Was there anything different from previous years?
I think just adapting to whatever style of play we were doing, whether if it was just like personally for me, whether if it was just working more on like trying to get assists or whatever it was, or just helping out on our fullbacks playing as a winger. Sometimes you don't want to isolate your fullback too much, so just working on that, just kind of like help my game a little bit and expanded my game in different things that I could do on the field.
Yeah, definitely. It was a crazy season for us. It was one of a kind with all the COVID stuff, but it must have been really special for you to play with your cousin Abdi. That was the first time you guys got to share the field, and in a lot of games you shared the same side of the field, being that you're a winger and he's a right back. So how is that relationship? You guys are also roommates. Do you get sick of each other?
I think he probably gets sick of me because I like to bother him a lot. So, but for sure, sharing the field with your cousin means a lot. So growing up, we played together, and like even in the off season, we always trained together. Last season when he was at Memphis, we'd always like watch each other's game, text, try to tell each other whatever we could do better on the field. So. Especially being on the same side with him, we speak a little Somali on the field, so it definitely was a blast for sure.
You guys talking Somalian about John behind his back? He probably honestly, that man probably knows Somalian with his background.
I would definitely be like scared to say something like that.
Yeah, I remember watching last year when Abdi was at Memphis. I remember he was playing left back, and we were watching one of his games. But you guys definitely support each other. What is it like for your families being able to watch your games at the same time?
I think it's definitely great, but at the same time, we're like in a group chat, so we're like anything funny happens in a game, they'll like screen record the play and just send it to the group, and it's a lot of clowning for sure. More of like just like poking each other, like a little fun in here and there. So definitely, like they always watch it together, so it makes it more special.
Yeah, and no one makes fun of when you miss a sitter, though, right? They leave that one out.
Hey, they made fun of me for that Richmond goal for a while.
Oh, the one that we ended up scoring, the own goal.
We ended up scoring off of it, but I was trying to walk it into the goal and like just stumbled, and the guy scored a own goal. So we'll take it though.
Dave, you got any questions for Mojo?
Yeah, just listening to the discussion, and then we were talking with for everybody listening out there, we're recording your episode with Omar same day as we recorded the episode with Dallas and Caesar, just kind of recapping the team season. So just any particular moments, I asked this of Dallas and Caesar and Jake, any particular moment or moments that stood out to you, Omar, besides everything from like last week where there was all this excitement and everything, with the championship, like any moments from the season that really memorable moments that you'll always remember going forward?
This is crazy, but I haven't even told this to Keegs. I remember last year when we lost in the final to North Texas, and I remember like not the first person, but the person I remember the most was like Keegs coming up to me, because like whenever a game's done, sometimes like me and Keegs would speak and like we would critique each other, like whether we did good or not. So I remember him like coming up to me in that final game and just give me a hug and was like, "Yo, you played pretty well." And then like now last week, whenever we had a little scrimmage, I guess, just sharing that moment with him and like hugging it out, just it was definitely special, because last season was like losing in the final. You know how it is. It's not the best feeling. So just hugging it out just made me think of that moment. Was like, damn, like last year at this time we're kind of like sad, and now we're like happy and celebrating a trophy. So it felt like surreal.
Well, we all like hugging it out with Jake from time to time. You need to kind of let that out. And,
I'm a good hugger.
Jake's very supportive. He's a good hugger.
Yeah, it's I remember that. I remember going around people, because I remember how well we played that game, and I think to you and a few other people, I was like, what a performance. I mean, and at Greenville, we're built the way John has taught us and coached us. It's always built on the performance, not necessarily the result. So in that game, we did everything we could, bar put the ball in the net. And sometimes that happens in the game and sometimes you lose. But I think the culture that was built in our team, it's like the most important thing is performance, and the results will come. And I think that kind of carried over to this year, where we performed week in, week out. We were the better team, and for the most part, we won the games. So I think when you get so focused on just winning and losing, obviously everybody wants to win, but if you get too focused on that, then it starts to affect your performance, and then which affects your results. So I think I'll give a lot of credit to John, to the way he kind of built the culture here, for sure.
Definitely.
Just a quick question for Omar too. Staying with the current season, have you had any feedback from anybody in Somalia, from anybody just now having won the championship? Has that got reported there? Anybody picked it up? Have you spoken with anybody?
Yeah. I get a lot of messages from. There's a lot of fans that support our team, and especially me and Abdi. And sometimes like whenever I have a good game, they'll like screenshot like a photo mob and send me like if I had a good game or not. And so most of the time, a lot of good feedbacks, and they're just so super supportive. And like, especially I think in the finals, a lot of people were planning to watch it. So when it didn't happen, like I was getting messages of like, what happened? Like they just seen like, Instagram posts or Twitter posts saying like, oh, we won and we're celebrating, but they're like screenshotting the game. We're like, yo, we're trying to stay up for this game. What happened? So it's kind of sad that I didn't get to watch the game, but they watch a lot of the games, and they're like super supportive, and I'm appreciative. I try to reply to every message I can, and it's definitely like, it's a good feeling to have people supporting you for sure.
Omar, are you like the Manny Pacquiao of Somalia, or?
Honestly, I didn't think I was that big till I went back home, and I was like, whoa, like this is crazy. But it's definitely, it's amazing to have support from your people back home. Definitely.
Could you take me back there with you sometime? As like, I could be like, I'm thinking of the HBO documentary. I used to watch Pacquiao, and he had like his trainer Freddie Roach, and he was like number 2 or number 3 most popular person in Philippines. because he trained Manny Pacquiao. So maybe I could be
Yeah.
like your advocate too. Like I think I have room for another one. And then I could be big in Somalia.
It was definitely crazy when I went back home, but I didn't like. I still to this day, I'm just like, I'm just the average person. Like sometimes when I get these messages, I'm like, all right, like this is a bit too much, but hey, you gotta take the love sometimes, and I just appreciate it. So it's great.
I want to take the love all the time. It's very nice. Yeah, you're the player of the year for Somalia.
Yeah, last year I guess.
The reigning player of the year.
Reigning
Yeah,
player.
so
How did you?
I call Omar the Somalian Beckham, Dave. Especially with his new haircut, like he's looking fresh. So he's got that Beck's look to him.
The haircut. Yeah, I'm looking here at the Somalian National team, and we have some pretty stiff competition. So I'm wondering, Hussein Mohamed is playing in Finland.
Yeah.
We have a guy in Greece. A bunch of guys in Finland.
Yeah, we got a bunch of guys in Finland, and the guy in Greece is one of my close friends, Abdus. He's playing. I think I forgot the team's name, but it's a good level in Greek.
But you are the leading goal scorer in the last current squad from last December. So I guess it makes sense that you are the player of the year, because these other guys, might be playing, perhaps a little more recognized level in Finland or something. But Omar's performance dictates that he is the player of the year.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helped. Like just us. I think just us winning the qualifier put like gave the country some hope. So it was like I remember growing up, my uncle played on the national team, but it was never on TV. So we never like got to watch anything. So the first World Cup qualifier, I think FIFA announced that all the games were on FIFA.com or something like that. So like everyone was watching it on TV. So it was like something like that people got to see and just enjoy. So it was great.
Was Jake, were you watching that game?
We actually were. We were watching one of them. I think one of them was in the middle of the night, because at that same time, Dallas was away with Guam, and they had World Cup qualifier against Bhutan. And I vividly remember watching the game they lost. They ended up winning on aggregate, but we watched it in the team, like in our locker room. We have like flat screens. We were all watching one Dallas game. I vaguely remember watching one of Mojo's games. I definitely saw highlights of it. No, there definitely was, because I remember texting you after because the field was terrible. Yeah. But yeah, Dallas and Mojo were away on international duty at the same time last year in September, which is really cool for them. So Mojo, can you, being that you're not, like, you don't live in Somalia, obviously, you haven't been there, and you were never there. Where were you born? Egypt? No. Egypt?
No, I was born in Somalia, but I moved to Egypt like right after like 4 or 5
years. Okay. All right. So you haven't spent time there for a long time. You've been in the US since you were a child. Can you tell me how did that come about? Because I know, and the first time you made a cap for the national team was last year. So how did that come about? Like, when did you first get the phone call? Go into all that.
So I was speaking to our technical director like mid-season. But so sometimes like you hear like these rumors, like people saying like, oh, there's a national team call coming up, or there's a national team this, but we never really like had a team like that sometimes. So it was kind of always questioned. So I never really believed it. And until he like texted me, he was in Toronto, I think the game that we were playing Toronto. And he like texted me, said, hey, I'm in Toronto and I want to watch your game. And like, I'm trying to like put a team together from like overseas and like local guys back home to get a good national team. And in my head, I was like, you know what, this guy's probably just saying some stuff, trying to get me hyped up. And I think after like that Toronto game, it was actually a pretty good game for me. So I scored that game. I think you scored 2 kicks.
Yeah. We won that game 3-1.
We won 3-1. So he like texted me and said, hey, you know, we could still meet up and talk. So we talked about it a little bit, and he like showed me that he was actually legit. So I was like, wow, like this is amazing. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna let my cousin know as well. Like he already knew about Abdi, and like I kind of had to call Abdi and tell him about the situation, that I met him and he's actually like, not bluffing and this is actually a real thing. Because at first we just didn't believe it, So when I told him that, it was crazy. After that, like we called our parents and we looked up the dates for international breaks, and it was just like a good moment for us because like our uncle played on the national team, so it was like this is like something that we always wanted to do. So again, that call up was just like this is not real till I go there, So once I went there and I was like, yo, we're actually about to play a World Cup qualifier game, it was just crazy feeling.
And you scored in one of the games in the was it against Zimbabwe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And that was one of the big. I mean, that's a really big accomplishment. What could you just tell us a little bit about your thoughts about scoring the World Cup qualifier against Zimbabwe?
So the first leg we have won 1-0, so we're all kind of like gassed about that. And when we won that game, like it wasn't actually like I couldn't even really celebrate because Abdi got hurt in that game. So like we thought it was a severe injury, but it wasn't. So like the whole team was celebrating, and Abdi at the time too was celebrating a little bit, and then we had to take him to the hospital. And so we went to the hospital, so I had to go with him, but the rest of the team went back to the hotel still celebrating. So the whole time we're both kind of scared because he thought like he did something with his Achilles and like he hurt a snap, but it wasn't. But like, he thought that at the time. So we were at the hospital, and like at the time, like, when you're in Africa, sometimes like your phone doesn't have if you don't have Wi-Fi or like the internet plan, so you can't really check your phone. So I didn't know like people were going like crazy at the time, but I didn't know. So we're like both at the hospital trying to figure out like what's going on with his ankle or Achilles, whatever it was at the time. So it was crazy. And then we got back to the hotel, like I think it was like midnight, and we were both just tired, and we didn't even imagine it like being like crazy. So we went to sleep, woke up the next morning, and like I try to turn my phone on, and all I just get is just like my phone just going like crazy, bunch of notifications, and it was just like a crazy moment. But when you are a player, you can't really like celebrate too much because there's another game coming up. You got to do well. So we tried to zone off, and we went to the next game, and we went to Zimbabwe, got ready for that. And I think we're down 1-0 when I scored. So it was like, all right, now they got to score 2 goals to beat us. So I scored in like the 70th minute. I think it was like something like that, or 79th minute, thinking like we're going to be good. And like we're all celebrating like crazy. Like they can't come back from this. And I think that's why like I felt like my goal touched a lot of people because of like the time at the time, like, like the time and the score. So they had to score 2 goals. So like a lot of people back home were like, it's done. They're all celebrating. Like I got a bunch of videos, people sending me like from back home, like the game was finished pretty much. But sadly, Zimbabwe ended up scoring 2 goals in like the 90th minute, and they ended up advancing. So it was just like a lot of people still to this day would like message me and be like, yo, that goal changed my life. Like I cried, So I mean, even though like the game didn't turn out that way, it was cool for me to score, but like the game was just like hurtful. That whole day, like it just didn't hit us because it was just like we had the game like right there, just it was like so close to us. And then you know how it is, football sometimes is cruel. So
often, yeah.
For those who don't know, like Zimbabwe is a pretty big nation in Ireland. They're pretty, sorry, in Ireland, in Africa. They're a very successful national team, and you guys were literally just put together on the fly, kind of by this guy who came into Toronto. He met in Toronto. That accomplishment of even first winning a game against them and then forcing them to score 2 goals in the 90th minute is pretty incredible, to be fair. And then after that, you had that other tournament where was the other tournament? After the season?
Yeah, it was, the other tournament was in, it's called Sakafa. So it's like Central East Africa tournament. It's not really on the FIFA calendar, but it's still like big for like a small nation like us to get more games. So that was pretty big. I think we played the first game, we played Djibouti, and then we played Uganda, and then we played Burundi, and then we played Eritrea. So that tournament was pretty well for me too as well. I think when we played Burundi, I scored a nice volley. Yeah. So it was just like it's a goal that people still to this day too send me. So I guess my 2 goals kind of still live in people's hearts. So it means a lot.
Yeah, I remember waking up. I didn't watch that game that you scored in, but I remember waking up and it was all over Instagram. I was like, it was a banger, like outside the box, like half volley. Was it full volley, half volley? Kind of like
It was like I hit my quad and then it just bounced up perfect for me to like.
Yeah, that's what it was. That was a sick goal, and you're basically the Somalian logo at this point with all these famous photos of you. So and after that tournament, you kind of stayed in the area, and Somalia had their end of year banquet awards, whatever you guys would call it.
Yeah. So what happened was the federation wanted to they invited me to come back home and kind of go to that end of the year award, and it was the first time that end of the year award was being hosted, by the way. So it was incredible. But at the time, I had to still like call my parents and talk to them to see if I can go back home. And the thing I wanted to do was be like I guess like a lot of people, like especially in our country back home, not being so safe. A lot of people were kind of like intimidated to go back home. So I wanted to like break that barrier and like be the catalyst to like, be like, okay, we can do this. We can go home and have a home game eventually one day. So when I went back home, I mean, I honestly thought it was just going to be like maybe a few people that know me, but I went back home and it was just like the craziest welcome. I was like, wow. Like, I was like, I might as well just live here now. That was amazing.
So maybe take us back a little bit. So, I'm just looking through, your background and, after you came here, first of all, one thing I thought was really interesting was you didn't start playing soccer until age 12.
Yeah.
That's
so.
Oh, go ahead.
So like I always played soccer, but I never played like organized soccer at all. So
okay.
Like I've always played in the street and stuff like that. And when I started playing organized soccer, it was definitely different. At first I didn't like it because you got to follow rules and go into training. I just always wanted to just have a scrimmage, like a 5-a-side, So I always was never a big fan of like, all right, come to training, do this passing drill, and then do this. And when you're a 12-year-old, you just want to play. There's no like discipline to your game at all. So starting that off as a 12-year-old here was definitely like a interesting experience because I never put on cleats till I was like 12. So I always had just like just runners and play indoor, whatever the case was.
What do you think of that? Your experience and your development, just at those ages compared to so much of what we see in youth soccer here, where, we start getting competitive at like, under 8, under 7, like where, like you were given the freedom to play and enjoy and love the game and then move into a more organized environment.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is too, like, when I was born in Somalia, then moved to Egypt. So like growing up in Egypt a little bit, that's what everybody did, unless like you had resources to go play organized soccer. So when you don't have that, you kind of just love the game and just play outside. And there's one big club called Al Ahly in Egypt that everyone, wanted to play for and like, looked up to it. So just seeing those teams, like that's how kind of like fell in love in the game and just always everyone's playing outside. So like you see your friend, he playing outside, so you go outside and you play with him. And we kind of just played like, we'll make goals out of like shoes and just like kind of things like that. And we'll be like, all right, this is the goal today. And we just kind of try to score and like do like a little bit 3v3, 4v4, whatever the case is. And when I came to the States, that's when like no one was really like playing outside because sometimes the weather is cold in Ohio, so you got to find an indoor spot. So we always try to like play like like we had like a little tennis court in our apartment that we lived at. So we always played like we had like a Hispanic community there and a lot of Somalis, and the number one sport is in the Hispanic community in Somalis are like soccer. So we always played like just soccer on the tennis court, and just it was kind of just fun doing that than playing competitive organized soccer because you know how it is when you play organized soccer. You have to be disciplined. You have to follow instruction. As a kid, sometimes like when you play a lot of street soccer, you might not enjoy that as much as playing with your friends outside of it, you know?
Yeah. But pretty quickly though, you picked it up. Before long. I mean, after a few years of organized soccer, you're playing with the Columbus Crew Academy. So maybe just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I started out playing club soccer with Blast FC, and I had a really good coach that really looked out after me, and he really helped me out develop as a player fast, because he always pretty much would help me stay after training, do some extra stuff. So he helped me out a lot, and then I got the chance to move up to the Crew Academy after that, and I went on a trial first. And the first time I went on a trial there, I said to myself, like, yo, this level is crazy. Because, when you're playing club soccer and academy is different. So, like, I think I was training with, like, the U14s at the time. And, like, they had the U20s where they're, like, PDL team kind of. And they had, I think, Will Trapp was on that team. And they had a couple of the guys that was on the trial that day to bump up to play against them, like a scrimmage game. And I just remember, like, not touching the ball a lot, and the ball was just going my head was just going in circles, just the ball was bopping. So I said to myself, like, this is the level I want to play at, and that's why I kind of chose to go to the academy route.
Do you think that?
Oh, go ahead.
Do you think that playing kind of in the streets when you're before the age of 12, do you think that set you back, or do you think it has kind of created the player you are today and has actually helped you?
I think for my kids, I think it helped me a lot, because, like, the way I want to play is just like I like to enjoy the game. Here and there have like little heel flicks and tricks, whatever you want to call it. So I think that's how I was raised to play, and that's how I enjoy watching the game. So definitely like helped my game for sure.
Yeah, John loves it when you try to make someone in the middle of the park. So
it works.
If it works, he doesn't care.
Yeah, you get a good class.
What? Can you talk a little bit about when you were with the Crew Academy? Was there an opportunity then for you to, were they looking at you to maybe go to the MLS club or professional level, or like how did you fit in? You were there for a couple of years, and then it seemed like you ended up playing over in college a couple years after that. So maybe just talk about that period a little bit.
Yeah, pretty much when I was at the Crew, it helped a lot with my development, because the level of academy and the coaches they had was great. So when I was there, I got a lot of opportunity to train with the first team, and I went on my first, I think when I was maybe 16, I think they had a reserve league back in the day in the MLS, instead of like teams didn't really have second teams, so they would have like the reserve league to go to. So I went to Houston with them, and I just remember Justin Miriam, who's still a good friend of mine, and Aaron Schoenfield was on the team at the time. Whenever I went, they always like welcomed me and like showed me a lot of love. And as a young player, you know how it is. Sometimes it's difficult to like fit into older group. So I went there and I played a reserve league game, and I scored a goal. I remember Ethan Filney played me a ball across, and I just like it was a tap in. But it was like scoring a goal in that level, it meant so much to me at that age, and definitely helped a lot with my development and just being at that level. And then I got an opportunity to kind of kept training with the team and like see how I do. And I mean, it didn't really work out, but it was definitely like a great opportunity to train with the first team and getting those chances with the first team.
How did you then transition? I know you went to Jackson College for a year, but how did John find you, more or less, when you signed with FCC?
Okay. So at the time before I went to Jackson, I played with the U23s, like a PDL team kind of with the Crew, and Ryan Martin, who was Cincinnati's assistant coach, was the coach for the U23s with the Crew. and I was playing with them in the summer. I actually didn't think I did well in that summer because like I was dealing with like a heel injury. So like every time I try to like pivot, it would just always hurt. So I kind of like messed with my head every time I was playing. So I took like 2 weeks off to try to heal that. And like I remember Ryan Martin calling me, he's like, "Hey, why are you not showing up to training?" And when you're younger, I mean, at least for me, I'm not good with emails until to this day. So like, I guess he was emailing me, so I never saw like any of the emails. So like, I was getting emails like, "Hey, are you coming to training?" kind of thing, and I was just not showing up. So I was resting my heel, but I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want to tell people I was injured. So I was dealing with that a little bit, and I came back, did all right, I guess, and then I went off to JUCO. So when I went off to JUCO, I got a text from Ryan mid like season in JUCO saying like, "Hey, there might be an option for a trial for FC Cincinnati," and he was like, "I would like you to come in and see how you're doing." And I was like, "Oh, there's no brainer, Cincinnati." And at the time, I didn't know who the coach was, so I went into the trial. I saw Harks and Ryan was there, so I said hello to them and just wanted to play well, and I did well. And I spoke to John a few times, but I didn't know if I made the team or not. So I kind of had a feeling I was doing well because the feedback I was getting. And then I finally got a text saying they would like to get in touch with me and talk about contract. And I was like, whoa, like this is like was always a dream of mine to play professionally. So when I got that text, it was like no brainer for me to like at least to persuade what I wanted to do in my life. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go for it. Honestly, it was the best feeling for me to get this opportunity to sign my first professional contract with a great club, FC Cincinnati.
You know, in the 24, because I'm just looking at your background, and so in 2013 you're with the youth academy. So it was 2014 were you with? Was that when you were with the U23s?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Okay, and then 2015 college, and then that led into FC Cincinnati. So maybe just talk, give us a little bit about your time in FC Cincinnati, and it seemed like you had a good run there for that year in 2016.
Yeah. I mean, on that team, we had some great players on that team, and when I first, actually, I'm gonna tell you how I got the name Mojo. We had Omar Cummings on the team, who's a Jamaican international, good guy. So there's two Omars. I mean, he had a nickname as well. They called him Big Cat, but there was two Omars on the team. And I remember like whenever I would come into training, Gaff would always be like, "You need to get your mojo back," or, you need to something like that all the time. So that's how kind of the name came about. So, and it just stuck. And then I honestly didn't know Gaff's dog was named Mojo till like the end of FC Cincinnati season, where like I saw his dog and I was like, he was calling him Mojo. So I was like, oh, damn. I was kind of cool. But yeah, as my experience with FCC was, it was great, playing at Nippert and all that great crowd. I remember we played a friendly against Crystal Palace, and we played against one of my favorite players, Zaha, who's very dynamic. Just playing against them and like players like that just meant like so much to me, and especially like you know how it is when you're playing against like a big club over there, and then having a good season with the team, made the playoffs. I was 19 at the time. I got a lot of minutes actually playing coming off the bench, so it was definitely a great experience.
Were you playing with Daryl Fordyce in Cincinnati?
Who?
Daryl Fordyce?
He was the year after.
He was the year after.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to be able to do a 60 degrees with Daryl thing.
I was with Dallas and Evan and Typo. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. I mean, I think everybody, the fans, I'm sure for Greenville are pretty familiar, but like maybe for the folks not listening, just or not listening, not familiar with Greenville, it's definitely a strong FC Cincinnati component to the team from when Hark's time, as coach with FC Cincinnati.
Sure.
So yeah, it seemed like you had a terrific year that year, and getting to play, against clubs like Crystal Palace, and to play for FC Cincinnati, at that time in USL must have been pretty exciting. Could you just talk maybe a little bit about the transition for yourself, to go from the junior college level to like, playing with a top professional club in
Yeah.
USL must have been a big jump for you.
No, it definitely was. I remember we had a game against when I was in junior college, Cincinnati State, and there was rumors that at the time they were gonna have a professional team in Cincinnati, and when they did, and I ended up going there, it was just like it was crazy because like the fan base over there, like they knew every player, so it was like it was definitely amazing, and the obviously just playing junior college for the season and moving up. The training is definitely not the same level. So playing with good players and helped me, just made me look forward to more to training, to trying to get better. Because you see like some of the guys that played professionally for 6, 7 years, 8 years, or like, long vet. That's what I wanted to be. And like, so every time I was coming to training, I had to be like switched on and always be ready. So it was definitely like, it was a lot of challenges, but I definitely enjoyed it.
And then after FC Cincinnati, then you transitioned to the 2017 with Portland Timbers in the USL, and it seems like you had a really strong year. Got a lot of games, a lot of playing time. With Portland that year. Can you just talk a little bit about like what led you from Cincinnati to Portland?
Yeah. I mean, when I ended up signing with Portland, they have a lot of young guys, so I wanted to be part of that group where I can kind of develop and get more minutes. And when I went there, it was a great challenge. We had a lot of young guys where we were all kind of learning at the same time, and just going there, the training environment they have, and the way they have like their gym sessions. Everything about the Portland organization was just like soccer base was really good, and like they have like when you finish training, they have their own chef. They get you ready for eating your certain type of food, and then like you come into training, they have like a little where they check if you're hydrated. So like everything about there kind of like taught me how to be a better professional and kind of look out after my body, more like Keeks kind of. So it was great to be in there for sure.
Are you going to get Jake to be your personal chef? Is he your personal chef in Greenville? Or?
If I could eat like Keeks, oh man.
I don't think anybody can.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to. One thing I thought was interesting that Mojo you've shared with me about Portland is they had that re-entry day before the week. Like the first day of the week was always kind of easier on the body, kind of more pattern play, passing drills. I thought that was really interesting because you see a lot of these teams like you get 2 or 3 days off, and then the first day, Tuesday or Monday, whatever day you're in, you're 100 miles an hour. So it was really interesting what Portland did. But yeah. So from there, you scored your first professional goal in Portland. You had a decent season. You played most games. You got to train with the first team. Was there any chance of you kind of moving up, or were they always going to kind of let you go?
Well, I was there when I was there. I played the Open Cup, and we have a lot of guys on T2 that didn't get that opportunity. So for me, when I got that opportunity, I was like, oh, maybe this is like a good moment for me to kind of like establish myself and try to move up. But it was just, and then I trained with the first team a lot, and just seeing guys like Nagby, Diego Valeri, I think they had Blanco at the time too that came in late. It was just like good experience because like those guys are like really playing at a high level at the time. So just seeing their training habits and trying to like pick up things from them was great. And yeah, definitely, I think I had a chance, but just didn't really work out. So it was still like a good experience for me for sure.
One thing I'm curious about now is like the next step for you was a bit of a bit of a blank period, in terms of like professional soccer, where you're a young player coming off 2 good USL seasons with two very good clubs, and then 2018 you ended up back in the USL League 2 or the USL PDL with Des Moines.
Yeah.
maybe we could talk a little bit about how you got to Des Moines, but like just what exactly kept you from finding another USL, a professional club for 2018?
I kind of wanted to go try the Europe route. That was kind of like my dreams to always play overseas. So I had a uncle of mine who lived in Switzerland, and there's a team called Rapperswil that he lives close with. So he would kind of talk to them and see if I could come in during the off season, if I could come train. And I was lucky enough; they said yes, and I went there and I trained with the team for a while. And when I was training there, I did pretty well. Just the international spots is very difficult over there. So I kind of just stuck around, but I didn't really know the rules, thinking like maybe if I keep coming to training, just keep busting my ass, like it's going to eventually work out. And then it didn't work out. So it was kind of really, I think it was probably the most difficult time in my career, because that's when I was like, looking for kind of any guidance to like what to do next, because the USL season was starting up, and it was March, and I'm thinking like, all right, I do want to go home, but at the same time, if I do go home, like where am I gonna play next? So that's when I kind of got that call from Des Moines, and it was definitely challenging, but it kind of helped out a lot.
Did you not have like an agent or somebody or some contacts that you could, maybe did you get a chance to either go on trial anywhere or, just get a look? I mean, coming off 2 good years, I would figure that, one of the USL clubs would at least bring you in and take a look,
Yeah. I mean, I did have an agent at the time, but I kind of did my own thing where saying like, oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to stick with it. Because I always dreamt playing in Europe. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to try this Europe thing. And he was kind of saying no at first, but like it was something I already made up. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to just try this. But when I did, it kind of like, I wouldn't say backfired, because it was a good experience. Just maybe like, I feel like mentally tougher. So it just didn't work out. Kind of went to USL League 2 route then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then after USL League 2, you played the season with Des Moines. You ended up moving on to Sweden, right?
Yeah.
What tier was that?
So,
what division was that, and what team?
I think it was they're in Division 2, I think, in Sweden. So Division 2 is probably like a fourth division.
Fourth tier. Yeah, fourth tier. Yeah.
So yeah, they were in they're called Mutala IF, and I got the connection by the PDL coach. He really liked me, so he said, hey, there's this opportunity, it's 3 months or 4 months, whatever the case was, to try to help a team get promoted up to the third division. So it was no brainer for me to just keep playing football. That's what I love doing. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go and enjoy my time there. And when I went, it was pretty cool. It was a good experience. You know how the European life goes, a lot of biking up the hill, down the hill. So
yeah, been there. How would you, for those who don't know, how would you compare the level of that league, which is the fourth tier in Sweden, to the other leagues you played in, which is USL Championship, USL League 1, and USL League 2?
It definitely, I think it wasn't I think they have a lot of good players, but it's not like it's not structured. So like, that's what I would say. Like, it was more of like your free play kind of thing, like a lot of creativity, but just a little bit more of not a lot of structure, and just kind of do your own thing. And there was a lot of good players in that league for sure that could probably move up to their Superetta and stuff like that. But it was a good challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Then I guess leading into 2019, the opportunity came up with Greenville. I'm guessing that John reached out to you when he was, once he had taken over, taking the position with Greenville and was starting to try to put the team together.
Yeah, actually, I reached out to, I saw it on Twitter that he got the job, and I've always kept in touch with Coach. So I texted him and I said, congrats on, getting a job at Greenville. And then he texted me back saying thank you, and then we kind of went off of that. And he watched, I think when I was playing in Sweden, he tried to watch one of my games on live stream, stuff like that. And yeah, it was great. I just remember on the flight back home from Sweden, he contacted me and he wanted to like bring me in and talk about contract situations. So as soon as he asked me that, it was no brainer. I was like, you know what, I would love to work with you again, coach. And it was an opportunity for me.
The rest is history.
Yeah. And I got to meet Keeks, the legend himself.
Yeah. When then we,
You know, it was cool. I got a little interesting story. The first thing I watched when Greenville was signing players was Keeks' highlights. I remember watching Keeks' highlights, just banging in goals. I was like, oh, that's my striker.
Yeah, we would, especially last year, Mojo would call me his striker and I would call him my winger. So we had a good relationship last year and this year. What is that? What's that? Go on.
I don't know if Dave ever saw like when T.O. was crying saying, "That's my quarterback."
Yeah, that's what it alludes to. It's he's talking about Tony Romo, right? Or Jeff? Yeah, Tony Romo. And he's like,
Tony Romo. T.O. was like crying saying, "That's my quarterback." Yeah.
Yeah, he was at a press conference and people were like saying Romo was playing like shit, and he's like, he's defending him. He's like, "That's my quarterback." But yeah, so that's where we got that from. Mojo, I noticed you have a top on for the YouTube viewers. What is that brand? It looks pretty cool.
So my brother has his clothing brand where he like kind of makes jerseys and any sports kind of wear. So this is called Motion Apparel. So yeah, so that's what it's called. And he's been working on this project for a while, and he's really doing a good job. So I've been trying to support him. And, hopefully, I'm trying to get him to, since we won the finals, I'm trying to get him to send the whole team some type of lovely package.
Oh yeah.
We might have to include Dave on that.
Yeah. What's the name of the brand again?
Motion Apparel.
Motion?
Yeah.
Okay, apparel. And so do you want to give that a plug since Jake already kind of led into the shameless plug, we might as well. Where can we find Motion Apparel, Omar?
So if you go to you can go on Instagram, Motion, that name is Motion and MOSHAN, and then you can go on the website motionapparel.com as well.
Okay. And what type of apparel do they have?
Just socks, pants, and shirts and all that stuff. And he's still working on some things right now since COVID has been a little bit challenged, but definitely like working on some new projects.
Any chance that Jake might get a gig as a model for Motion Apparel? Or?
Hey, we might need a new model right now. People are tired of seeing my face, so I gotta switch it to Jake now.
Hey, just let me know when. I'll model that. I'll model the shit out of those clothes. But I guess now we can wrap up. We can just have a few questions just about Mojo's career. Or do you have more, Dave? You do?
Yeah, just real quick. I mean, I don't want to skirt over the Greenville stuff too much. Let's give Omar a chance to talk a little bit about, like, his experiences maybe in 2019. And 2019, was a really good season for you as far as played a lot of minutes with the Triumph, and then this season, I mean, I know a lot of other factors, but he definitely still played quite a bit. But I guess with the increased competition, new players have come in. It was a little harder to get the minutes, and but that's usually the case with the with the championship teams, successful teams. They have a lot of quality players. Competition for places is difficult. So maybe just talk a little bit about the last two seasons, just generally, and how your performance has been.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. 2019, I felt like was definitely a good year. Just I think as a team too, I felt like since we've grown a lot, so it kind of like definitely pushed us to definitely like work together and become a better team. And we've added a lot of good players in our team. And like you said, sometimes in football you have your ups and downs. And 2019 was a good year. And then coming into this season, I felt like I kind of started off decently, and then and then I had like a couple of stretches where I didn't play, and kind of it could definitely be a mental challenge thing, but I felt like it kind of also helped me to like kind of see the game differently. So sometimes when you're playing a lot, and you don't get to play a few games, and you kind of see the game differently, and you can kind of look at watch your other mates and see what you can do better when you do get your second chance again. And I felt like that happened towards the end of the season where I started playing better and like got an opportunity and stuff. So I'm kind of like happy and how about I finished it, where I could have kind of said to myself, oh, like, you're not playing, if you don't get your chance again, you kind of sometimes you could, as a player, you can just switch off. So I kind of just was happy about just being mentally strong and staying with it and definitely like getting your opportunity again. So it was definitely a good learning experience to see the game in a different way when you're not so on getting minutes sometimes.
Right. Okay.
Do you think that how would you say the difference between the team this year and last year? How would you describe that?
I think last year we had maybe, I don't know if I would say this correctly, but we might have like just a different type of players where we maybe didn't rotate or whatever the case was. And to now I feel like we had a more like of a depth roster where we could have, anyone could really, you could put anyone on the team and we would all like, pretty much the competition was there. And then we definitely had some, obviously last year too, we had injury problems too. So with Jake getting hurt towards like, was it towards the end of the season maybe?
Yeah, towards like the last month or two of the season.
Yeah, so I think just depth this year was definitely helpful for the team to win a championship. And sometimes as all the good teams, you need that.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite John Hark story?
I have a favorite John Hark story. Oh man. Oh man. I think all his whenever he has jokes on the film, I think you could pick any of those and just I think John Hart could talk to anyone, anywhere, and just make them feel comfortable. So I feel like he can relate with anyone.
Yeah, the one thing about him is he's very good at kind of, I don't want to say manipulating, but he's very good at the right time making you feel 10 feet tall, and at the right time also like telling you you're not good enough and you need to be better. Like constructive criticism, of course, but I think he's very good, like building up your confidence at the right time. Oftentimes in the beginning of the week, especially after we won or we won a lot of games in a row, he'll be a little bit harder on us because he doesn't want us to get complacent. Whereas at the end of the week, when it's a game day, he's always buzzing. He's like, cracking jokes, like doing all this normal John stuff. So that's definitely something that I think has helped us. Just the mental side of the game is such a big thing.
Yeah, I think that's the most underrated thing about just the sports in general, the mental side of the game.
Omar, do you have a favorite Jake Keegan story besides the hugging it out
time? I think maybe when we were in Chattanooga, I think it was, that I maybe realized this last season. I just remember, I think maybe we were at DoubleTree. I just remember like a bunch of us always would get cookies and stuff. And I think I realized Jake never gets any sweets. So after that day, I told myself, you know what? I'm following Jake. I'm not getting sweets no more.
That's funny. What else do we have for you? Let's touch on now. I know the one thing I've always been impressed with you, Mojo, is how but both faithful you are to your religion with being a Muslim and fasting during those months, and but you did it last year during the season, and this year it was during the quarantine, and also just your kind of your loyalty to the people that you love and your family members and your close friends. That's what I respect most about you. So first, I guess the first question I would say is, how important is that kind of period when is it? Like during June or May or June?
Every year it kind of changes, kind of moves up. And like, so last year I think it was around. This year was around May, and then the year before that was around March or something like that. Maybe what it was.
Yeah, it takes a great discipline to fast, especially when we're training in 95-degree heat. I remember last year we were like just trying to pour water on you, just like keep you alive. But it's always something I respected about you, especially when you're playing games, doing it, and traveling and all that. But,
yeah. No, I mean most definitely. I think just for that, I think I gotta thank my parents a lot. Just I learned a lot from them, and especially my dad and my mom. They're always super supportive on whatever I do. So the fasting I kind of started when I was 15. So it's something that mandatory. So for me, I've always I'm big on religion, so I try to like follow it as much as I can and learn more about it. And the fasting part while playing is definitely challenging, but I think sometimes anything, if you put your mind to anything, you can do it. So I just remember last year, Jake in the middle of games would like look at me, be like, "Yo, are you all right?" And like he would cover for me sometimes defensively. So I definitely appreciate that from Keegs. And for sure, and just being like a good person and working on that is just something I try to like do better every day. So it means a lot coming from you, Keegs. So appreciate that for sure.
Yeah. How important is it for you to then, for all that community has given you and your parents and all your loved ones, how important is it for you to then give back? I know you've talked about that ID camp that you're doing and other things that you've done for that community. How important is that to you to then, you've been given a lot of great opportunities. How important is it to give back?
Yeah, I mean, I just know like just playing soccer, sometimes it means a lot to me. So like I know a lot of kids are like looking up to me, and sometimes you might think that you're not doing much, but like just talking to a kid for a little bit, or in any way possible where you can just give them a little advice on soccer or whether if it's life, it means so much to them. So like for me, like I got a lot of opportunities from a lot of good people. So I kind of just try to do the same thing for the next generation up, and just try to be that good role model if I could be, and try to guide them to the right direction.
What is that ID camp? You want to talk about that a little bit that you're doing?
So I grew up in a Somali youth community. So all the neighborhoods I lived in, it was either a lot of Somali kids or some Hispanic kids. So basically it's a showcase tournament for young high schoolers, maybe 20 and under, and just trying to give them an opportunity where they play a lot of street soccer, and like some of them maybe play like a small school, junior college, and never got an opportunity to be seen. So I got the idea from like a lot of just kids messaging me saying like, can you help me with school? So I try to like call schools for them to try to like, see their level and then help them get into either JUCO, or if they're good enough to go to D2 or D1, just try to give those opportunities to them. And so this time I thought about the idea of setting up a showcase tournament to where coaches can come and be like, all right, this kid's actually pretty good, and maybe he doesn't play for a high profile team, So that's why I wanted to do it, because I was in their shoes before. So this is something I'm like really passionate about, and I'm super excited about doing it. So definitely it's going to be definitely a challenge, but I think once we put all the things together and we do it for the first time, and maybe we can keep doing it more and more.
So Omar, just I guess we're near the end here, and just wanted to get a sense from you of maybe what are the next steps for you. You have your career at Greenville. What are you looking to do? Is Europe still something you're looking to do? Also with the national teams.
For sure. I mean, I feel like as a player, you always want to improve and want to do better for yourself and just keep improving. As far as I want to do, that's definitely still up in the air, like not knowing yet for sure, just being in the off season. And the national team definitely got some stuff coming up in December. if COVID allows us, hopefully.
Right.
We got the same Sakafa tournament they do every time around December. So would be fun to catch up with the national team guys and just try to have a good tournament. And then I think we're supposed to be in 2021, they're having Qatar is hosting a tournament with like a bunch of the national Arab League and stuff like that. So I think Somalia is going to join in. So hopefully playing that would mean a lot, especially playing in Qatar there because they're preparing for a World Cup. And I think what we want to do is kind of prepare for the next African qualification, so African Cup of qualification. So that would be big for the country to try to make the African Cup a nation. So that would be our first time ever if we make it.
Right.
Dave, breaking news. Omar is going to be signing a new 5-year contract in Greenville.
Hey, Dave's going to be my new agent now.
Well, you know, Greenville Triumph coming off success. It's
Yeah.
the place to be. You know?
I love this community. Keeks knows a lot of. I kind of have a lot of friends outside the team. Just going to the mosque and just meeting a lot of people. I've like friends that speak Arabic. Just a bunch of people from different countries here. So it's definitely an amazing community here.
Great.
That's why he's staying 5 years.
Hey, Jake, get the deal done.
All right, we'll work on it.
All right.
The longest contract in USL League One history.
Is it?
Fact. There's no chance anybody more than 2 years.
Hey, he's gonna get that Patrick Mahomes deal soon. 10-year deal.
Hey, won't be able to walk at the end of that.
You might play for another 50 years from now.
Oh, stop that. I'd like to play as long as possible. I'm sure you would as well. But it's a career. Like once it's over, it's over. So make the most of it while you have it.
No, definitely.
Well, Omar, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was a real pleasure for me, and I hope I'm sure you guys had a lot of fun too. But hopefully the fans out there, people listening, people that are following Greenville and also follow Somalian National Team, and yourself and for people who aren't familiar, definitely an interesting journey, an interesting path that's led you to where you're at now, and all the best for you going forward. And later this year, hopefully you're able to play some more games with Somalia, and then into 2021 as well.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. And Jake knows this. I'm a fan of the show, so every time I listen, so I always tell Jake that Dave's the funniest guy. So keep up the good work.
Hey, he's the only guy that says that, but we'll let that slide. Before we leave, Mojo, I have one question. Where is the check that you received for being Somalian Player of the Year?
Oh man, I know you're gonna probably get in. It was a great cause. I mean, I got the check, so hopefully I donated it to orphanages back home, and Keeks probably knows this. I don't really like talking about it, so definitely it was just great to give back, so to the community and try to show love back.
What a guy! What a guy! I mean, well, can you get any better than that? Donate to orphanages. I didn't even know you did that. Actually, I was referring to. I thought you got like one of those big, those like golf tournament checks. I like one of those just for show. I thought you could keep it somewhere, but that was not what I was expecting.
No, I thought you knew. That's why you were setting me up for the question. I was like, I don't want to say this.
All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Mojo. Until next time, Davey boy. I'm the athlete.
I'm the advocate.
And we are the Aristocrats.
We are the Aristocrats.